All right, guys, here we are. We are at All Saints Parish, and we're about to interview the fantastic Father Dan. Here he is.
Hello.
Hi, Father Dan.
Hey, Linda.
Hi. So here we are. We're Hate Street Voice live. Well, it's not live, but we're doing the interview, so we want to find out more about Father Dan. So welcome to Hate Street Voice.
Yeah, and welcome to All Saints Episcopal Church.
Yeah.
We've been in this particular spot for about 100 years. We started out around the corner on Masonic Street before that in 1903. So we have been in the neighborhood for 119 years.
Saw that in that cool groovy ad you put in Hate Street Voice.
Yes, indeed.
119 years in step with the Haight-Ashbury, right?
How about that? Yeah.
Now, are we able to take a quick little tour of the
We
church?
sure can.
Cool. We'll just go do a little walkthrough, guys.
Yep.
Cool.
Here is our prayer board right here. It's a white board that we erase every week, so you can come by and put a prayer request down, and we keep you in our hearts for the week, and then clear it off, because as you can see, it gets a lot of use, and we run out of space to put
Wonderful. I
people's
had no
names.
idea. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Hey.
It gets well used.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So this is the
Wow.
this is the church.
Wow.
And it's been more or less like this for its history. When it moved around the corner, after they moved it around the corner, they added these extra wings here.
Okay.
It was just kind of the narrower between the pillars, but they still moved buildings around here. So back in the day, they however they did it, they hoisted it up and moved it around the corner from Masonic to Waller when they got a bigger lot. So.
And you're here how many nights a week, or days, or mornings, or what's your...
the schedule right now is there's pretty much something going on 6 days a week. Okay. Saturday is a quiet day, unless there's a special event. But Sunday through Friday, there's something or multiple things happening up in this space here. Plus, a number of groups in the community use our space too. Use the garden space and the parish hall space. 12-step groups, music together. Children's music education. A lot of different folks use it.
Great. So, good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived here forever, and I didn't know any of this. So.
Yeah, it's a busy space.
And do you play the?
I do not. No, we are blessed to have Bill Fisher. He's our organist and choir director, and he also keeps track. Bill does of the groups that use the building and kind of keeps an eye on the place. So we're really lucky to have him. But
cool.
Nope, I don't even know how to turn it on. And that's probably just as well, because I'd get in a lot of trouble.
Now, I know that you had an image from the psychedelic SF
We did,
gallery.
yes, Purple Jesus.
Yeah, do you mind showing us that? Because I think people
Yes,
would get a kick out of that.
There was already an empty nail on the wall, so there must have been something hanging here back in the day. So this is the Purple Jesus, the Alex Gray that we got from the Psychedelic SF Gallery.
Shout out to those, our friends over there.
Absolutely. So
gorgeous.
I'm delighted to have it in here.
Gorgeous.
It's a beautiful image, and it kind of fits in with the neighborhood certainly, and with what we're about. It's very, very incarnational, right? Very, very word made flesh, because you can see obviously, underneath the flesh, either bones and sinew and all of that. It's a beautiful piece. So
yes, it is.
A delightful gift. Really, really generous.
Oh. Okay. Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yay. And then we're being treated. Father Dan's going to take us up to the house with Kate.
Yep.
Which is right next door, kids.
Right next door. We call it a rectory. So that's where the priest is blessed to live.
Do you need to lock up, or is it your fine?
I'm just going to lock the gate down here.
Okay, cool.
And we'll leave that be.
And I guess I should point out for those people that don't live in the neighborhood that this is a Masonic and Waller, between Masonic and...
Yeah, we can take a quick peek at the
cool.
backyard too. If you
Even
want.
cooler. We're going deeper here.
Yeah.
Great.
Since we're here.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So the backyard doubles as our backyard and the churchyard. So it's a multi-use space.
Wow. Well,
So the infants and toddlers who are part of the Music Together group that uses our space, they meet out here.
So sweet.
And then in the parish hall and throughout the lower part, other groups meet. And then this is really important. This sculpture back here is an artist's representation of St. Michael the Archangel. And St. Michael is important to this parish. Among his other attributes, he is the defender of the defenseless. And St. Michael became really important to this congregation when the HIV crisis hit in the late 70s and in the 80s. So many people, obviously in this town, suffered and died, but so many members of this congregation, because this has been a congregation that's been open and accepting of queer folk right from the get-go. So it really hit this congregation hard when primarily, you know, man after man after man suffered and died. So this representation
gorgeous.
of St. Michael
Gorgeous.
is a center point of our garden here.
Your garden is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And who's this little guy over here?
Well, we brought her with us from Flint. That is a garden angel that Kate's late mom Joan made for us.
Aww.
So we brought her from Benton Harbor, Michigan to Flint, Michigan, and from Flint to here. So we plunked her in the garden as well.
And we'll get to Flint in a little bit, but we're going to
Yeah.
But thank you for this little tour.
So
check it out, y'all. This is here. I might have to come down, watch you in action down here, Father Dan.
always welcome.
Thank you. Wow.
So yeah, when I moved here a year ago and took pictures and sent them back to folk back in Michigan, saying, yeah, this is our backyard now, with ferns and palms and all of that.
And you just literally had your 1 year anniversary just a couple weeks ago, right?
Just a couple of weeks ago, yeah. Yep, arrived in late May.
Wow.
So here we are. Absolutely love it.
Here we are, yeah. So this is Waller that's Masonic, and then Ashbury, correct? Oh, and look at that.
There's Katie and Ogden. Hello, Ogden.
Hey, oh my God, gorgeous. Oh my, look at that.
I'm afraid it's just going to be like mostly crumbs,
okay.
but that's okay. It's okay.
Yay. Oh my God, it looks like a wolf.
It's good
That's
to
beautiful.
Nice to see you as
Have a good one.
I got to reload my pockets.
We do. So yeah, this issue is the Dog Days of Summer, and it's going to be nothing but dogs on the cover.
Nothing but dogs.
And it's all about family and community and connection and our chosen family, our blood family, our relatives, relations, all relations.
Yeah.
So that's why having you in this edition is, I think you could, well, actually the light, it's probably better if you sit here because otherwise, yeah, that's good. Okay. And did you have your little thing you wanted to beverage, or you want to not do that, or do you care?
No, I'm just going to take a sip right now.
So this is the parish.
I'm going to pour the glass.
What do you call it though?
This is a rectory.
A rectory.
This building is called. Kate's in here working in the kitchen.
Kate's in here, the one and only Kate. Just gonna, can I peek? Let's see, I'll just.
Please do.
I'm gonna say we're not live. We're just doing a little video. You just say hi.
Video to her.
Yay!
Kate's making a lovely heirloom tomato salad for dinner
Nice.
tonight.
Nice.
Just like the little Italian ladies I used to work with in Chicago taught me.
When I lived in New York, man, those little Italian ladies know what they're doing. All right.
They do.
Thanks, Kate. We love you. Okay. Oh, and you know what? We should probably introduce the crowd to
Oh, Maggie. Yes.
Maggie.
This is Maggie.
Can you see? You don't have to make her get up. But we love Maggie.
No, but
everybody.
Yeah, Maggie loves the stoop.
Yeah, Max.
Sometimes
let me get a better little
I'll call her Stoop Dog.
stoop. There she is.
Stoop Dog, because this is her favorite
Maggie,
spot.
we love you. Everybody in the neighborhood knows you,
Yes.
of course.
They do. So she gets to stay securely here and survey her domain. She gets 2 walks a day through the length of the Panhandle and down the length of Haight Street,
Wow.
the Upper Haight. So she's got a pretty good life. She's 14.
Wow, she seems like a
We've
little
had her
pup.
since she was 6 months. Rescued her from a kill shelter in southwest Michigan. So we've had her almost her whole life.
Oh, you're going to be on the cover of the magazine too, Mags. Yeah. Yeah, Creatures are so important in this on this planet.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all our relations, our family, the creatures, our chosen family, our blood family, the people in the community, the brothers and sisters that we have every day we see and we say hello to. And
Yep,
it's really what I want this edition to be about. It is about, because I have had the famous people like Bob Weir and Peter Coyote and things, but the real people here is what I really want to focus on this one.
Well.
And I want to hear your story, Father Dan. So I'm going to ask you about what got you here and all of that.
All right, we'll
Perfect.
do it.
Cool. Yeah. We're winging it here, kids.
It's warm enough that we can leave this open.
Yeah, cool.
God, it's need an overhead light or anything else?
No. I think we're fine. Let me see. I think we're fine. Yeah. Oh, it's actually perfect. Looks great. There's Maggie. You want to join in?
Oh, who knows?
Okay. So let me get my book out. Hi, Mags. Yeah, you can be on camera while I get this up. One of my first questions was about you, just as a human being, and what got you started in the work that you do. What was the calling? Where did that all start? How old were you?
Well, in my vocation, call is kind of hard to define. It's a sense. You just know it. And I knew it from as early as I can remember that this is what I was supposed to do.
Wow.
And it took a while to get there, as so much of life does, but found my way to seminary in my mid to late 30s and was ordained a priest. Oh gosh, it'll be 16 years ago next Friday, June 24th.
Wow.
So 2006. I was ordained a priest in the Episcopal Church. That was in Southwest Michigan in Benton Harbor.
Okay.
So you got your handy Michigan map here. You know the Michigan map. You got the Upper Peninsula here too,
yeah.
right? But I'm a troll. I'm a below the bridge guy. That's what they call. That's what they call us. So Lake Michigan is here. Chicago is right over here.
Okay.
So Benton Harbor is here, right along the coast.
Okay.
I grew up in the Grand Rapids area, which is about here. Detroit's over here in Ann Arbor, just for reference. And then we moved here from Flint, which is about there, about an hour north of Detroit. And yes, this is called the thumb of Michigan, because it looks like a mitten. So.
And is Flint rural, or is it? I've never been, so.
Yeah, Flint is the seat of Genesee County. Flint was the birthplace of General Motors. It was the birthplace of the United Auto Workers. In its heyday, it was still, it was never a big city, 200,000 people at the max, when there were 7 General Motors plants there and 80,000 people worked for General Motors in the city. When General Motors pulled up stake and scattered all over, the town really struggled. Population now is maybe 90,000 from a high of 200,000, so lost more than half. A town that really has had a lot of hard knocks over the years, but a great city, great people, a town full of characters. So when people said, "Oh, you're moving to San Francisco, that's kind of a crazy town," it's like, Flint prepared me well. There's been nothing that has surprised me in San Francisco from kind of a people standpoint, except maybe the naked guys walking around. There's not at least by choice naked guys walking around in Flint. But otherwise, Flint is just full of.
Is it a lot of music, a lot of art, a lot of?
For a town its size, the University of Michigan has a campus there. It has a good community college. It has a big. Level 1 trauma hospital there, so all the really hard cases from the county go there. It's also the safety net hospital, so they take care of everybody. That's Hurley Medical Center. I was on the board of that for a while. Wow. In St. Paul's, the church I was in is the downtown, one of the downtown churches. It's been there for about 180 years, the parish has, and about 150 in that particular spot. So, very much a legacy sort of parish in Flint. And I was there, Kate and I were there during the water crisis. Wow. So we were, certainly involved in some of that. Not as much as many of my colleagues were, but played a part in that. So Flint was really a good preparation because there was so much going on. I had responsibilities with the larger church.
Hi, Max. Hi.
So it was really, it was I was there for 6 years, and it felt like 10.
Yeah.
Just because the concentrated level of work that was there was so much going on that when I got there wasn't really expected.
Right.
But things happen.
Do you mind if I ask what your age is?
I am.
You don't have to answer.
I'm 56.
Wow. Yeah. I thought you were like way younger.
Yeah.
Not that that's old, but anyway. And just to kind of like, I'm kind of winging it here, but as you were talking, I was thinking about, because this is the family and community edition, I'm interviewing 2 guys that live around the corner on Central, Andy, and they're, being fathers in the neighborhood and what that's like for them. But you're growing up in Michigan, and sort of your family background, was there, the trajectory of, did you ever think of yourself way back when in Michigan, did you ever foresee that you were going to end up in the Haight-Ashbury?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, did you know there was this great adventure ahead of you and all of that?
No, had no idea.
So what was the crossing point when you found out you were coming here?
Well, Kate and I, her older daughter Molly lives here, has lived here for several years, maybe 6, 7, 8 years. We came out in 2017 for a week just for vacation to visit. I'd never been to the city before, and I think Kate had been here when she was a kid, maybe kind of passing through to Hawaii or something, So it was really a first visit for both of us. And, we just thought it was a hoot. We saw, in that week, people who come, there's just so much to do. You can't see everything in a year, let alone a week. But, saw enough of it. It was a pretty cool city. But even then, never had the sense of, someday I want to move to San Francisco,
Right.
Still didn't really.
But it was on your radar as far as the whole Harvey Milk and the evolution of San Francisco hippies and the whole thing.
Yep. Knew enough about the city and its history and everything, but no, really wasn't. Making any sort of plans to find a way to move here. It just happened to work out that way, that when I was feeling it was maybe time to look to move on from Flint, having worked so hard for those 6 years. Kate actually found it first. My wife Kate's a librarian, and sometimes she would sit at her desk and she would cross-reference cities where Kate would like to live that have Episcopal churches looking for priests. And she would send me little things, from all around the country.
That's wonderful.
But she found that this parish, All Saints, was in the process of looking for a new priest, a new parish priest. So, she kind of put it on the radar screen. And then the guy back in Michigan, who sort of helps clergy find places to go, he had also mentioned this place. He said, there's an Anglo-Catholic parish in San Francisco who's looking for somebody. And by that time, Kate had already found it. And I said, is that All Saints? And he said, it is. So it seemed to be rather providential, rather, the stars aligning, whatever your divine view is. So
that's actually a good segue, because I think there's a lot of people, myself included, as to, I didn't know what Episcopal was. I didn't know, and I don't really want to go too far down that road, because it's about this community. Yep. But people see you walking down, oh, who's that Catholic guy? They don't, they maybe don't understand, like, oh no, I'm going to get in trouble because I'm drinking a beer on the street. And what I've come to know of, obviously, you and Kate and the whole thing, is that you guys are there's no judge. You don't judge people, like. So I think that that's something that would be really interesting to hear from your mouth, that, you'll see kids out there smoking weed, or not that that's bad, or, you even broke up a fight. I mean, I kind of wanted to touch on that. So as far as the no judgment, yes, you're a religious, spiritual person, but that isn't like, you're not forcing Catholicism on people. I sort of wanted to clarify for people that you're not going around preaching to people that they must feel this way.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
I just kind of I wanted to clarify that with people. I think it's important.
So I'm a priest in the Episcopal Church, and this particular parish, has what we call an Anglo-Catholic history to us. So, we put a bit, probably the best way to describe us is our ritual is pretty traditional and formal, not stuffy, but we really honor the traditions, the ancient traditions.
And you read from the Bible. I've seen some of your Facebook lives.
I mean, everything. It's very much within the mainstream of Christianity. but our theological outlook, our social outlook is very progressive, very liberal. So we blend, traditional kind of worship with progressive outlook and preaching and understanding of the Bible and society.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, and for us in the church, it's really all about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's all kinds of facets of Jesus, but what really draws me is that Jesus hung out with everybody, right? He broke bread with everybody, but he paid a particular emphasis and attention and care to those who were on the margins, or those who society kind of pushed to the margins.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really where I take my influence from. And whether I was in Benton Harbor, which is a very poor small city, or Flint, which is a very poor medium-sized city, and now San Francisco, which is one of the wealthiest cities in the country, but has real pockets of poverty and struggle.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's really been a good fit. So it's I believe in a ministry of presence and visibility. So that's why I'm out and about, dressed as I am.
We love having you.
So that people know it opens up avenues for questions and conversation. And people are really great about it. The nice thing about the hate, right, is that, people dress in all kinds of interesting attire. So in some ways, I don't really stand out, right? Because, a lot of people actually, oh, cool, where'd you get that? Where can I get one of those? Just today, right? Somebody wanted to know, where he could get an outfit like this. But, once people, find out that I'm an Episcopal priest and somebody that they can talk to, it opens up conversation. And I think it's really helpful too, so that if I, no matter who I'm talking with, other people, whether they're, people who live in the neighborhood or tourists who are walking through, I think it's really important for them to see that, all kinds of different people talk to each other.
Right.
And hey, this is a great neighborhood, a great community. And I just see myself as kind of a bridge builder, somebody who, my ordination vows as a priest call me to relate to everybody, rich and poor, young and old, everybody. So, for me, I take that really seriously.
So when you guys came, I'm going to have to put my glasses on. When you guys first came, you were coming at the tail end of COVID.
Yeah.
So you came in here when a lot of the shops were still closed. They were just reopening.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious and wanted to ask of sort of what your first impressions were when you first were living here, and then sort of where you've seen it go in this last year, as well as where you would like to see it go, and how can we, my magazine, as well as the people in the community, help the community get stronger and stronger.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time to change parishes in a pandemic.
Yeah. Hello.
When I left Flint, there wasn't really a proper goodbye. It was kind of a drive-through in the church parking lot, right?
Yeah.
And when we moved here, we still, the Episcopal Church, for as liberal as we are socially, we've been very conservative with the pandemic in terms of, we've been very cautious in reopening. We're still requiring masks inside and that sort of thing. So we still haven't had a big welcoming party. Here it is a year. Usually the new priest comes, there's a big potluck, there's, and we haven't been able to do that because of the pandemic. So that's been kind of a strange goodbye from Flint and hello to here.
Right.
Is that didn't happen, follow the normal pattern.
Right.
And being around the neighborhood, much the same thing. I go to I eat breakfast at the pork store every day. Oh. My first experience there, the counter wasn't open, right, because of COVID.
Wow.
They had, a few tables and the doors were open and everything, but you couldn't sit at the counter. The bar, the same thing, Zam Zam. You couldn't sit at the bar. You could sit at the tables, but everybody was masked, and it was all strange. And of course that's changed. Club Deluxe opened and then it closed for a while, and then it opened, then it closed because of that sort of venue. It's really difficult. She's gonna. It's
okay, Maggie. It's the dog issue. It's okay. You're part of it.
But I've a walker, somebody who gets out and walks around the neighborhood. So that really helps that you're not kind of restricted as much by sort of the pandemic stuff when you can be out in open air.
Right.
So being able to see things going on, being able to take advantage of the Panhandle and Golden Gate Park and Buena Vista and all the other places. And then slowly, things are opening back up. The gallery where you hang out,
1506, y'all.
1506, the psychedelic gallery.
We
all
love
the
you
different
guys.
shops. Gus's were in all the time.
Yeah.
All of these places are coming back around, but we still heard the stories that the storefronts were all full, and now so many of them are empty. But that's kind of been the history of this neighborhood.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, in reading so many of the books, I just finished reading Love Needs Care, which is I don't know if you know that book. It's written. It was written in like 70 or 71 by a physician and another person who were involved in setting up the clinic, the free clinic.
Is it Dr. David E. Smith? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Dear friend. Hello, Dr. Dave.
So, how the neighborhood, and then in the 70s and 80s just kind of imploded, right? And it's come back, and, it's kind of like Flint in a way, too, where it's booming for a while, then it's bust, and then it booms, and then it busts.
Well, a lot of, Bob Weir even mentioned this, and Dr. Dave, in my previous interviews, saying that, there's periods where bad drugs come through.
Yeah,
there's waves, and Sunny, even at Love on Hate, hi Sunny, we love you. There's these waves where people are, not that all drugs are good or bad or what, but the speed and the crack and the things that tend to make people go down into the darkness.
Right.
And I kind of wanted to touch upon this, and I want to tell you none of this is going to get published until you approve, but I just kind of want to open free form it. Like when you saw that fight, or you see the kids that are drunk, or you see kids on bad drugs, or smoking crack, or these kids arguing.
But that's from what I'm understanding as somebody new to the neighborhood who has been very, very graciously welcomed by folk, who spend their days on the street, and again, largely because I'm not thumping a Bible at them or anything like that, just hanging out, asking questions, listening. I've gathered there is a very strong determination in this neighborhood that hard drugs are simply not welcome, and people will be asked to leave if they show up either using or looking for anything that's basically beyond weed and maybe psychedelics. Nothing hard in this neighborhood. People are asked to leave if they want to go down that road,
or they're beat to leave. We saw a big fight the other day, ruckus. But
yes. I'm phrasing it delicately, but
I know you are
encouraged to leave in one way or another. I've seen that too, and so that's really, to me, that's encouraging, because again, the folk who spend much of their time out on the sidewalk as kind of their front yard, their front porch, they want to have a safe, enjoyable place to live, I think, every bit as much as the people who have houses and have a place to go to. So it's really important, I think, for everybody who's in this neighborhood to realize that the vast majority of the people, I believe, who are hanging out on the street want this to be a peaceful neighborhood every bit as much as the people who are living in the nice houses, farther away from Haight Street proper.
I think there is some fear from maybe the people that live up the hill, and they don't really understand the street kids, and some people complain of all the dogs and all that. That's going to happen everywhere, but I think I'm going to project my own thing. I think that the main thing is that we all sort of need to try and accept each other for wherever position we're in, right? Whether you're a street kid and you have a dog. A lot of these dogs are really well treated because the people are with them all day.
Well treated, well trained,
loved.
And I learned early on, I only get high-end all-meat dog treats, because a lot of the folk they're not feeding their dog dog biscuits that have all kinds of who knows what in it. So I learned early on, okay, I'm going to pop for the better dog treats. So I've got freeze-dried animal parts in my pocket, right?
Speaking of which, we are going to interview the new pet store that's opening there.
That's where I got my last batch from.
Jimi Hendrix Red House. We're really excited. They're in the neighborhood. It's a very beautiful time. And so the second part of my question was, what can we do as a
as a community, also in my magazine, what do you think the key things are that to help strengthen our community?
I think
events or gatherings, or you know what I mean, like training,
all
education.
of the above. But I think much of it is simply being observant and saying hello.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of quirky because I'm from the Midwest, and we make the Upper Midwest, and we make eye contact, and we say hello to strangers, right? Yeah. And that's kind of weird in either coast. Yeah. I used to travel in New York on business, and people would look at me funny when I make eye contact on the street. Yeah. It's a little easier, actually wearing this, than when I'm in plain clothes. Yeah. But looking folk in the eye, somebody who may be sitting on the sidewalk, maybe with a dog, maybe smoking a blunt, and just looking at that, say, hey, good morning. You don't have to engage in some kind of deep conversation. Simply recognize the shared humanity. Yeah. I think is so important, and it's so easy for us in our haste just to walk by people, whether we're judging or not. We're just, we're people in a hurry. We're people who are locked into our electronic devices, and we've got, this is really a vibrant neighborhood with people all around. Mm-hmm. So, just engage with folk where they are. You don't have to try to convert. You don't have to try to change minds. Mm-hmm. Just respect and love people where they are. Mm-hmm. I think that makes a huge difference. Then you'll probably see that the vast majority of people are actually pretty cool. Yeah. And just want love and peace as much as everybody else does. Yeah. And I think when we're estranged from one another, that builds up mistrust and fear. We fear the unknown. Of course. So if we, even if we see somebody every day but we don't know them, it's easy to get maybe an impression that's not exactly right. So you don't have to be best friends with everybody, but
I like the
look
awareness.
somebody in the eye, say hello, good morning, how you doing today? Yep. That's a big part of it. Music is so important.
Oh, I was just going to say music.
I've heard other people say this to me. There's so many street musicians. Wouldn't it be cool if there were a place where, folk could kind of hang out and do, maybe more of an open mic sort of a thing. A place where people could just kind of sort of be.
Or read poetry. Creative
that kind of thing. And, there certainly could be an option, even here at the church. One thing that I've noticed is just being on Waller Street, just that block away, there's such a buzz on Haight Street. Yep. That I think that's where a lot of the activity just needs to happen, because that's where the people are. Yeah. There's not the same kind of buzz on Waller Street or on Page, the other block, right? People walk it, right, but there's not the buzz, kind of the excitement going
Although
on.
we did have our cello guy. I don't know if you ever saw the guy that was playing cello during COVID out on Page Street down by Schrader. It was amazing. Oh. He's in the last edition. You'll have to read it. Yeah, wonderful.
But I did not experience
I was going to ask you how music is connected to spirituality, how it's connected to bringing people together. And I know you and Kate love the Deluxe, and you love music, so maybe touch upon the importance and the healing power of music. And
absolutely. I mean,
and the history of this Haight-Ashbury.
I mean, that is something that really binds people together. I mean, people have sung songs together for centuries, millennia. I expect. In the church, it's really important. One of my priest mentors, a guy named Father Mike, he said, good music will always rescue a bad sermon, but a good sermon will not rescue bad music. So, I mean, music really is key, I think, in church worship, but it's also key, I think, to who we are as people in society. When I'm walking down and there's somebody, and there's, Frederick or Banjo Steve or, doing something on the corner, I mean, I will stop and listen, not just because I know the guys and I like them, but the music's good, and I appreciate the talent and the spirit and the passion that they put into it. So that's such an important flavor to this neighborhood, as well as kind of the more institutional stuff. Club Deluxe, the other places that have music.
And then the Psychedelic SF doing the live
Oh,
bands
the
out
live
there.
concerts, yeah, and the Love on Hate when they put
They're going to have Moon Alice there on July 23rd. We're going to have Moon
kidding.
Alice, yeah.
I mean, those things are fantastic, and you see all sorts. You see people from the neighborhood, but also the tourists and the people coming through, and people just stop, right? Yeah. When there's music.
Yeah.
Even if they're on a hurry, they're trying to get to a shop or they're on a time schedule, tourists, they'll stop and they'll check it out for a minute.
Yeah.
And of course, that's so much of the history of this neighborhood, from what I gather, right?
It is,
from back in the day, and from reading your book, and in so many of the others. So I think anytime that a community can, realize really what are its assets, past and present, and build on that. You don't have to try to reinvent and to be something new. You have to kind of keep adapting and moving on with the times. But if music is your scene, that's your history, that's what you're good at, you keep building on that, because there are people coming through here all the time who are trying to recapture that. There was just a guy in the corner this afternoon. You probably heard him. I heard him playing at Stairway to Heaven.
Oh yeah, I was
but in a real
out.
kind of a jazzy sort of. I almost
People
wanted to
were
stop and start to dance. Because it was just like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And here he is just out there, obviously, trained and really, really good, just out there kind of busking and enjoying it. Yeah. Man, that's just a gift to this neighborhood.
I know, it really is. Let's see, what else do I have here, Father Dan? I have your 1-year anniversary. Oh, what music did you dig when you were growing up? And I already asked you if you played an instrument. Well, you don't play piano, we know that.
I don't play any. We had a small Hammond organ in the house. Mom did a little church organ work, so I kind of know where the notes are. I can plunk out a melody. Maybe if I look at a hymnal, it's like, what does that sound like? I can kind of, but now you just go to YouTube and you can hear what it sounds like.
But what were you listening to when you were, what was your first concert? What was music a big part of your youth?
Yeah, a fair bit. And growing up in kind of rural mid-Michigan, it was pretty middle of the road, mainstream. There weren't any sort of alternative stations or anything that, if you were in Chicago or Detroit, where you could really get a diversity of music. For me, it was kind of middle of the road, country and rock and roll, just, kind of the
classics.
Yeah, classics, top 40 kind of stuff. It really wasn't until going to seminary in Chicago and actually meeting Kate, who's got a much broader musical ear than I do, being introduced to some other genres and just some things that are a little, not the people that everybody's heard of, but the people that maybe just a few people have heard of.
Right.
So coming here, I love the live music because there's some great original music and there's some great covers of things that don't get a lot of play. Right now, probably the biggest thing we're listening to is on is it Sirius XM? Little Steven's Underground Garage. Stephen Van Zandt
from The Sopranos.
The Sopranos, the E Street Band.
Right, the Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah, it's a great eclectic station where you'll hear stuff that you've heard from the big artists, but a lot of interesting new music. Right. And I just love that. So then, that really seems to kind of fit in with the groove that's here. But I also have a thing for kind of, honky tonk and sort of old country too. Not the new kind of overproduced pop soundy stuff. Right. But the stuff that's going back, a few decades. Yeah. That's so much fun. And there's some good rockabilly bands that play at the club.
Oh, I know. That one guy with the hat. I forget his name right now. Yeah. But you grew up with like Dylan and all the
Dylan and Stones and Who and Beatles, but not a ton of Grateful Dead. Yeah. It wasn't a few of the big hits, but it really wasn't a big Dead scene. So that's all something kind of new to me is that culture around here.
That's cool.
That's a new thing for me.
Yeah.
Because for the kind of the longer sort of jam thing. Where I grew up, it was the typical pop radio songs that could get in a 2 to 4 minute block on the radio, right? Not something that's going to go on for a long time.
Well, the other thing about the Dead too that sort of relates to the theme of the magazine, this next edition for the summer 2022 edition, is that it's the Grateful Dead family. It's the Deadheads are really in a family. Yeah. We all, the Shakedown Street and the 2 shows I just went to at the Shoreline. There's people stop and, hey, how you doing? People that have, from New York are coming out to see. So there's this whole family vibe that's really beautiful about the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, and I see that, here with so many of the folk, who spend a lot of time out in the street too. They just love it.
Yeah.
And hoping for those miracle tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And, all of that. It's just, I'm really enjoying kind of getting a sense of what that is, because that's probably the newest, or that's probably the most different or unexpected thing for me in San Francisco, is just that sort of dead culture.
So just to go another path, what's the darkest thing you've seen in San Francisco or the community here? Like, what is something that concerns you that, I'll let you speak, like something where you were really alarmed, or you were, we don't have to go too far down that road.
No.
But I don't want it to be all unicorns and rainbows.
No.
There is light and there's dark.
There are pockets of real desperation. There are, people who sort of drift their way through this street who are really troubled. And, that's, I preached about this a while ago. Of all the miracles that Jesus did, if I could pick one miracle that I could do, it would be the casting out demons. Because in sort of Jesus's day, that was we understand that now as people with just really severe psychotic breakdowns, right? And there are some folk that you just can't get through to. They're something has snapped.
Yeah.
And they're gone. But even then, that's even amazing sometimes, is somebody will just be going on a rant, and it helps that I'm a man and I'm healthy and of a decent size. I don't feel physically in danger. So even just to look at somebody in the middle of that and say, hey, how you doing? And sometimes for just a second, somebody will snap out of what they are and say good morning, right? And then go back to talking to whoever it is they're screaming at that only they can see. That's one of the hardest things, because it's just there seems to be so little that can be done for I guess quality of life. For people who are hanging out, living the dream, that's great. But for somebody who's really got that psychotic break, my heart just goes out, because I just don't know what can be done. Well, in the times when I walk through, the Tenderloin too, and just see, so much of that.
I'm from here in the Tenderloin. It's just
and I think that's some of the impetus here in the neighborhood too, to kind of regulate what sort of things happen here, so that this doesn't turn into that. I think some of the other, it's not dark, but some of the mistrust or misunderstanding between people who are in the neighborhood, that kind of troubles me too. When I don't know if it's a choice that a person who is more prosperous makes, not to engage folk on the street. But when I get that sense of really wanting to be separate, to me that's kind of dark too. Even though it doesn't look like it. But for my spirit, where we're all called to be one in Christ, we're all called to be one in something, right? One people, common humanity. When we set up barriers between ourselves that prevents that, that's kind of, to me that's really sad and unfortunate too, and it doesn't have to be that way. So it's not, it's not on the not everybody would see that as kind of grim, but I see that as maybe a missed opportunity.
Oh yeah, I completely concur with that. That's Sirens and Chaos and the Hate. How can we help? I asked about that. Make it a stronger community. All right, I think we've done 43 minutes and 42 seconds here, Father Dan.
All right.
As a closer, I'm going to ask you what I ask everybody in these little ditties. If you could say something, or if you could speak to everybody through a loudspeaker all at once in this community, let alone the global community, what would you like to say to everybody?
Oh, I believe the vast majority of people want to live in peace, want to live in harmony, don't want to live in fear, want to have enough. We have that within our ability, I think, to do that as a people. You look at globally, and that's just too big. You look at even a city of San Francisco, that's too big. but maybe you look at a few blocks on Haight Street and the adjoining streets. The vast majority of people who are here want to be at peace, you know, don't want to live in fear, want to live their lives as they understand it, and don't want to create, you know, trouble and difficulty for others. I believe that. So, you know, how do we do that in this neighborhood? And I think a lot of that is what I talked about. Just making eye contact with people, saying hello, how you doing, trying to eliminate any of those things that engender fear and mistrust. Yeah. You know, you can't be best friends with everybody. You know, that's impossible. But, you know, in a neighborhood like this that already has so much going for it. I mean, what a cool neighborhood. So many interesting people here. Just stop and get to know. I mean, I meet more people in the Panhandle just walking the dog. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Just say hello to somebody. Yeah. Somebody who you haven't met. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Father Dan. We love you.
Linda, love you too. Yay. And the work you do. This is a great neighborhood. Thank you for being such an important part of it.
Yay. All right. Peace.
Peace.